Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we are looking at something that honestly affects every single one of us.
Yeah, hi everyone. Really thrilled to be here to unpack this.
So, to get us started, I want you to imagine trying to run a marathon. Right. But you're tied at the ankle to your partner.
Oh man, a literal three-legged race.
Exactly, a three-legged marathon. For decades, that is literally how we've been told, true love is supposed to work. You become one.
Right, you move in total lockstep.
Yeah, but if you actually try to run that way in real life, you are inevitably going to stumble. You're restricting each other's natural stride, and eventually somebody is just going to drag the other person down face first into the pavement.
Which is painful and messy.
Very messy. But it is May 2026, and if you look around at how people are building their lives together right now, it's incredibly clear that this old, tight-at-the-ankle blueprint is it's being completely dismantled.
It really is. It's a massive, real-time evolution in how we define commitment.
And the new ideal. It's more like two individuals running a marathon side by side.
Yes.
You're sharing the exact same journey, you're handing each other water, you're encouraging each other, but crucially, you are moving on your own 2 feet.
It's a profound shift in human connection, really. Because the cultural narrative used to highly romanticize that enmeshment.
Right, like, you complete me.
Exactly. If you weren't completely absorbed in your partner, the relationship wasn't seen as serious. But the comprehensive research we're exploring today, diving into the mechanics of emotional safety and autonomy in modern partnerships, it flips that entirely on its head.
Totally.
The data actually shows that intense emotional closeness and fierce personal independence aren't contradictory at all. They are actually the twin engines required to keep a modern romance running.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
Okay.
getting your head around how those two things coexist, it takes a minute.
It's a paradox for sure.
Yeah, you have absolute emotional safety on one side, and then total autonomy on the other. You can't even get on the track for this side-by-side marathon without understanding how these two pillars actually function in the real world.
Right.
So let's look at the first one. Emotional safety. People throw this around as a buzzword, like on social media all the time.
Oh, constantly.
But the material we're analyzing defines it as a deeply practical physiological state. It is the feeling of being secure, respected, and accepted to the point where your nervous system actually downregulates when you are around this person.
Yeah, that physiological aspect is so key. What we're really talking about is the absence of the fight or flight response within your own home.
Wow.
When you have emotional safety, you have the ability to share vulnerable thoughts or, set a boundary without the looming dread of criticism, manipulation, or rejection.
Because if you don't have that...
Mechanistically, if you lack that safety, your brain's amygdala essentially treats your partner as a literal threat.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Every conversation becomes a calculation. You start filtering your words, predicting how they'll be used against you in a future argument. Without emotional safety, you really don't have a partnership. You have a highly volatile diplomatic negotiation.
Right. It's the difference between coming home to a sanctuary versus coming home to a courtroom.
Oh, I love that phrasing. Yes.
If you're constantly terrified that expressing like a feeling of inadequacy at work is going to result in your partner giving you a lecture or withdrawing affection, you're just going to stop sharing.
You build a wall. You have to protect yourself.
Exactly. But when safety exists, the dynamic completely changes. You see active listening where people aren't constantly interrupting to defend their ego. You see arguments. Because, let's be real, you are still going to argue.
Of course.
But the focus is strictly on solving the problem, not character assassination.
What's fascinating here is the paradigm shift away from control. For generations, relationships operated on this subtle economy of ownership.
Like a transaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give you my commitment, and in exchange, I get a say in how you spend your time, who you talk to, how you behave. The healthiest partnerships right now in 2026 explicitly reject that. They operate on mutual empowerment. Which, brings us right to the other side of this equation. Autonomy.
The second pillar.
Right. Maintaining your core individuality within the partnership. Pursuing your own goals. Keeping your own private friendships. And completely avoiding emotional dependency.
Okay, but I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening who is feeling a little skeptical about that kind of independence.
Sure, lay it on me.
If you're dating someone and they are fiercely eponymous-like, they are taking their own weekend trips, they have this vibrant social circle that you are barely a part of, they are hyper-focused on their own hobbies, doesn't that just turn a romantic relationship into a glorified roommate situation?
That is the fear, right?
Yeah, like where is the actual romance if you are just living parallel lives?
It is a totally valid concern, and it's honestly the most common reason people initially resist autonomy. But if we look at the psychological distinction, autonomy is not emotional distance.
Okay.
It's not apathy or disconnection. A roommate is someone you share expenses with while living separate lives. Autonomy in a healthy partnership is two emotionally secure, fully formed people actively choosing to build a life together.
I see.
You aren't avoiding each other.
Yeah.
You are trusting each other without the need for constant surveillance.
So it's less about, I don't care what you do, and
Yeah.
more about, I actively support your growth, even when it has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Exactly. When your partner goes off and pursues a passion, they are generating new energy, new ideas, a real sense of personal fulfillment.
Yeah,
And when they come back home to you, they bring all of that vitality back into the relationship.
that makes a lot of sense.
If you demand that they abandon all those external sources of joy just to prove their loyalty to you, you're basically draining their battery and then complaining that the relationship has lost its spark.
Wow. That transition right there is the core of what we're calling the autonomy paradox.
Yes.
This whole idea that demanding independence actually fuels deeper intimacy. It seems completely counterintuitive until you look at the mechanics of it.
Right. Because when you establish that rock-solid emotional safety, boundaries are just respected naturally. You don't have to force them.
You don't have to police them.
Exactly. And in turn, autonomy acts as this invisible shield against the absolute worst relationship killers.
Let's look at the math of those relationship killers, actually. Codependency, emotional exhaustion, resentment.
It's a heady list.
It is. Historically, human beings lived in large tribes or villages, right? We got our emotional support from dozens of different people.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we often isolate ourselves into nuclear couples and expect this one single human being to be our best friend, our financial advisor, our erotic partner, our therapist, and our entire social life.
It's way too much. That is an impossible burden to place on someone.
Completely impossible.
Autonomy relieves that pressure.
Yeah.
It distributes the emotional load so the relationship doesn't collapse under its own weight.
That makes me think of an analogy to help visualize how these two forces work together for you. Think of emotional safety like a completely secure home base.
Okay.
If you know deep down in your bones that the foundation of your relationship is unshakable and the doors are always open to you.
You actually feel way more confident.
Exactly. You feel significantly more confident venturing out into the unknown. You embrace your autonomy. You take risks at work, you try new hobbies, you explore the world specifically because you know exactly what you're coming back to.
Yeah.
You aren't afraid of getting lost in the woods because you can always see the lighthouse.
That secure home base effectively eliminates the anxiety of separation. When you aren't terrified that your partner is going to abandon you the second you step out of line, you're free to grow.
Right.
True intimacy does not require sacrificing your unique identity. In fact, it demands the opposite. When both people feel entirely personally fulfilled, the relationship becomes expansive. It feels like a space of infinite possibility rather than a cage.
But, of course, if this balance of safety and autonomy is so incredibly beneficial, like if it's the proven key to sustainable love, why isn't everyone effortlessly running this side-by-side marathon?
Well, reality check.
Yeah, the reality is if you look at the couples around you, a lot of them are stumbling. They're still tripping over each other.
Because the track we're running on in 2026 is covered in unprecedented hurdles, the environment we operate in actively works against this delicate ecosystem.
Oh, for sure.
If we want to understand why people fail at this, we have to navigate the modern minefield that constantly threatens both safety and independence.
So true. The first and arguably the most explosive landmine out there right now is digital communication and just the sheer pressure of the hyper-connected world.
Yeah, our phones.
We all know social media creates massive comparison traps and unrealistic expectations. We've heard that. But the research we're diving into goes much